Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to episode 137 of the Guardian Hub podcast, where we talk Destiny, sometimes interview guests, and talk about our love of the game. Your hosts, as always, are Kingsley, Mac, DesRaven, and Sin, short of Mr. Media tonight. So far. Right? Des, it's just us two right now?
Indeed. Sin is being held hostage. We are coming up with a ransom. Potentially might be capable to join us later.
Yeah. We will see if the ransom money goes through. Oh, boy.
I don't know. They have to get paid in NFTs, and I don't know how they work, so, you know.
I don't either. I don't get into that or the crypto. You'd think I would be into that, but I'm not. The Bitcoins and all that stuff.
Actually, hilariously, I did watch one person go through NFTs and buy an NFT and set up an NFT, and yeah, some weird stuff, man. It's some weird stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I still don't know what they are or why they are, but I know they are.
Yeah. I heard of NFT. An example was someone would make a unique piece of art only for one person or something, and then it's worth lots of money. But I'm like, okay, but why does it have some weird name that's already always kind of in theory been a thing?
Yeah, it's.
But I guess there's some crypto way to prove that it won't be made again, I guess. I don't know.
I have no idea. No idea.
We're not here to speculate on that because we don't know.
Seriously, just leave me to Destiny lore. It's much, much less convoluted than NFTs.
Yes, we can definitely talk about Destiny lore. We can definitely talk about Destiny news and speculate how things will go, and we will have a lot of that to talk about tonight for sure.
My God,
I know, right? We got a teaser earlier on in the week from, I believe, DMG. Sent out a tweet saying, or someone else, he retweeted it saying oh, it's 17 pages long, and
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember that now.
I believe it. Lots of news on abilities, and then even last night, I think we were getting news on it. Oh, it's going to be dropping around 10 a.m. Pacific. So I'm okay.
And they legit kept to that time. So because TWABs normally aren't on a schedule, but they actually put this one on a schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I checked at 15 after that time on my side, and it was up, and it's wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It did drop a little early. I happened to be online, but not everyone saw it online until, because the thing too about, and I think they realize this too, and I was explaining it some to Mr. Monkey, but when you have a large site that a lot of people visit with multiple servers, when you post something on a page that gets refreshed from time to time, not everyone's going to see that line item at the same time. If you have the direct link, you can get to it. So what's interesting is we have this Craig bot. Sorry, not the Craig. What's the one that posts the updates for TWAB news and stuff like that? Maybe that is. It's one of the older bots. The name isn't important, I guess. Maybe Me6 or Charlemagne, I think. Yeah, Charlemagne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's interesting too, because there's one Discord that the old Hoot Dog Discord that I'm still in, that they set up their Charlemagne bot way before a lot of other people did. And so the TWAB always gets notified in their Discord first. So I'm always, I have that one set for pop-up notifications. And then usually ours is anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes after theirs, for at least the bot. And then, but I saw the first pop-up of it. It was actually about 15 before the top of the hour. And then, but yeah, by the time everyone started hitting on it and seeing it, it was brought about perfect what they said. 10 Pacific and 1 Eastern. Now, before we get into it, because we can just get right into it, but I do have to give a huge shout out. I would have done this anyways, but it's funny. He mentioned oh, are you going to talk about us in the podcast now? I'm yes, of course. But last Friday, shortly after reset, right when Trials for the Weekend started, I hit up Luna and Mia, just saying if they wanted to try some more trials. I've done one run with them in the past, and we had a very pleasant time. And I did get to go to the lighthouse thanks to them.
Nice. Nice.
Yay! Thank you, Lumina. Thank you, Mia. Mostly Mia.
Yeah, mostly me. There's no secret there.
Yeah.
No, hilariously, I actually have not turned on Destiny.
Ooh, for since the last time we even talked.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about Trials.
Yeah, actually, so it's been since like, God, how? Ooh.
You're not playing the game? No, I'm not.
Yeah,
playing
legitimately. I legitimately have not been playing the game. I've been, I know this past weekend. Pretty sure that was this past weekend. I've been catching up on Marvel stuff with the wife, and we started down the rabbit hole of my second time watching it through, but her first watching the Marvel movies in timeline order. Which,
okay, yeah.
Again, Disney Plus is kind enough to do that for you.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just going back through, and yeah, it's fantastic.
Nice. Well, I was just going to mention a little bit on Trials. This last weekend they did, again, quote, Trials Lab zone control with the new changes of it, rotating some and being a more neutral spot. And I actually enjoyed it a lot, even though I'm not usually a control type person. I prefer more just kill, not, you know what I mean, clash type game modes. But it was really working, and of course the experience was good because of Lumina and me. I mean, I joke Lumina's at least 3 to 4 times better than me, and Mia's like 16 times better than me.
Yeah.
But it really worked for us, especially going in with 2 Warlock Wells of Radiance. So there was several opportunities where we were able to just, as long as one of us were alive, hold down the point. Especially there were several times where both of us had our well, and if we needed to, we could do one right after the other. And but with Mia usually getting one of the first picks, and often 2, with kind of a 30% of the time, Lumina would get the other pick, and then I would definitely help. There was times, rarely, where I would help get the first final shot on someone, but of course I didn't probably get the first shot on them, and then helping doing damage altogether and playing safe so that I knew, since they were like my protectors, they would go in hard at first and then when appropriate. And then my goal is to stay alive and then push forward a little bit when one person was down, and definitely push forward hard when 2 people were down, because there's nothing really to lose, because I could always feel confident that I would help get the revives if Lumina or Mia was down, and then obviously help get the final kill. But it worked really well. It was very smooth for us because the other week when I went in with them, at best we were winning like 4 to 5 matches. We ran a couple cards. 4 to 5 games of total games, and then that's even with one forgiveness. But this time we very easily won like 5 games. One game was like the other team won like 3 rounds. So, a little bit of a concern, but then we quickly got to 5. We got to 6 wins before we even had to use our forgiveness. And then at 6, we lost that one. And we probably could have even won it, but just a couple, maybe we were just getting cocky or whatever. And then the team won. And then on our last 6 or 7th, after the forgiveness, we easily won it. And it was pretty cool.
Nice.
So I definitely have to thank them. But zone control was kind of cool, and it is a good map for it too. I like the map that it was, and had some fun with them. And again, like these shorter rounds and trials, and it was a good enough experience. So again, thank you so much, Lumina. Thank you so much, Mia. I was able to also help them because they were looking for another carry for their medals and their seal that they're going after. So.
Nice.
It was good all around. Yeah. So, and then other than that, I don't know if there's too much to talk about. I feel like I might have done a raid or so, but nothing is popping up too much.
Actually, I haven't done anything. I watched Black Widow. I watched Shang-Chi. We watched through What If. Super stoked for pretty much everything at this point in time. I'm like marveled that. So yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen Shang-Chi yet, watch it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's weird because, like I said, he was like Shang-Chi is like a C-list Marvel hero that they've turned into an incredible movie. It is so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad. I think I'd heard good things about it, but now hearing from you too, that's good for me to know.
Oh yeah. It's like fantastic. It would probably be in contention for like the best movie out of this phase, but there's still a lot to go through. So
Mm-hmm.
like the Doctor Strange sequel and Spider-Man: No Way Home, that the official trailer, the official trailer, dropped Tuesday.
And I saw a lot of you all talking about that in the Discord.
My God, it's so good. It's like the trailer is just so good because Sony has found a way, like regardless of rumors and speculations of anything else that's going on, Sony has found a way to bring out like the reboots. Because I mean, Spider-Man was just in that poor spot that it just kept getting rebooted and rebooted and rebooted. But now it's all cashed in basically, because you have pretty much every villain from the previous universes of Spider-Man movies coming into this one. And it is just that alone, it is going to be a fantastic movie. And like all the nods that they have to the old franchises is just, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Should be a great movie.
Right on. Ooh, one other thing we do need to talk about. You were on an episode with our friends Guardian Downcast last week.
Yes,
I
I
listened
was
to
on
it.
an episode.
Sounds like it went well.
Yes, it went fantastical.
Episode 121, but it's the latest episode as of what we're talking, and
Yes,
maybe one behind by the time you hear this. But just look for "Is Ikora in Trouble?" featuring DesRaven.
indeed. Which I will say, they asked me a question, and one of the lore questions they asked me was, or quote unquote lore questions, because Gator's questions were more like plot questions, but that's fine too, because there have been many times where lore has teased plot elements. But I will say I missed a point when they asked if Marasab would have a bigger role or a role in Witch Queen. And I completely, I think me and Laz were talking about it in the GDC Discord and their lore channel. I had completely forgotten about the vision where Uldren and Mara are seen in a pyramid ship fighting against something by Sir Ido. We haven't seen that yet. But we do know that there will be a pyramid ship in Savathun's throne world when we go there in Witch Queen. So could that be the very same pyramid ship that Mara rips open with her bare hands and then fights potentially Savathun inside the pyramid ship in her throne world? Who knows? But either way, it opened up an entirely new thought of possibilities to me, and so yeah, I answered that question. Well, like I told them, I didn't do any kind of research on the lore questions. It was just what I knew then, and yeah, that shows. But yeah, so there's all new possibilities, and I'm even now more stoked to see where the Witch Queen like story campaign will go through, because it could very potentially involve some amazing Mara scenes. Potentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and more of the story there too is continue to it was a good episode talking about that stuff, but everyone needs to continue to follow up if they're interested in that in the lore channels in both ours and Guardian Down. I believe most of this is going on in Guardian Down, but we have a lore channel also in the Guardian Hub
Indeed.
Discord.
Indeed, which are other fantastical questions. And like I said, I'm in lore channels. I'm going to talk in lore channels. I don't care where it is.
Yeah. Another thing, let me see if I can go back. They announced the name. I'm kind of surprised they did this, but the name of the 6-player activity for the 30th anniversary pack. I'm trying to see if I can find.
Oh crap!
this.
Yeah. Dang it.
Gus, because we have a lot in Destiny. I should have looked this up before I started scrolling back. Oh, and another thing too. But okay, yeah, it's called Dares of Eternity.
Oh yeah. And it's got 9 imagery too, which is interesting.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And of course, I think Eternity is the name of that one PvP map that was in like 9 space. It was huge.
I know, and I think I read or heard something else also about this will be, I don't know if they use the word a large activity or like it'll take you through many things. I mean, let's not get our hopes up too much like Menagerie and everything, but it could be pretty cool. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
It could be something pretty neat.
I mean, just look at Reckoning, basically. I mean, this has the potential to shape up to be very similar.
Yeah.
Because I think even Reckoning used, I mean, it was in 9 space. It was in like that unknown space, so it looked a lot like the Eternity map, but I don't think it was the exact same. But either way. Yeah, so should be fun.
And then this is important for, we've had these people on our podcast in the past and they're friends of the show, but Guardians Mental Health. They got an official nod or team up with Bungie themselves to create a mental health kit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to go, formerly known as St. 14 Cast.
Yep,
or
formerly
Project.
known as St. 14. And then didn't they have another name also before Project Mental Health or Project MH or something? And then it was Guardians Mental Health. I don't know. I feel like there's a few names.
Yeah, they went through a bunch of changes because, I mean, well, yeah, they started in the Destiny community, and of course, Saint 14 in the lore was the subject of much questionable mental health, so they went that route. And I think Joe was a Titan mate, so it all fit. But yeah, then they were like Guardians Mental Health, something else mental. I mean, they wanted to be a little more inclusive. Keep like the Guardians to maybe expand out to more games, but then they became like an actual non-profit organization. So they changed the name again, and there's,
yeah. We'll check out the website. It is pretty easy to, and we have it in our Discord also, but it's guardiansmh.org. So Guardians Mental Health, but guardiansmh.org. And from there, you can find a link for a Guardian kit, they call it. And it says, thanks to the generosity of Bungie, we have been able to create a unique mental health kit experience focusing on supporting Guardians through the Destiny community. This new kit features updated resources, a new sensory and mindfulness items, and an all-new audio meditation session, all crafted by Guardians and for Guardians.
Nice.
So they have a newly designed Destiny-themed, easy-to-use technique cards featuring helpful grounding and breathing exercises. They have a newly updated mindfulness coloring book featuring a new cover by Tenruken. They have a brand new audio meditation created by Guardians from the Destiny community featuring Anubis, Mylan Games, and Guardians' very own Dr. Goku, as well as the voice of Crow himself, Brandon O'Neill.
Oh, nicer.
Yeah. All right. Sin, you've joined us. Welcome to the show.
Yay!
Your guest, as always, is Sin.
The NFT went through. Don't worry, it'll make sense when you're editing it. Don't worry, it'll make sense.
Someone must have paid for your release.
Yeah, right. And I laid down 2 hours ago, roughly. And normally I don't fall asleep until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and wake up 8-ish for work. So I'm only getting like 5 hours of sleep per night. And I just freaking went, laid down. One of the kids fell asleep. I fell asleep. It happened.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah.
But no worries, you're here. We were just going to go in over some news items. We talked about the Guardian's mental health kit. We talked about some things, but we were getting pretty close to getting into TWAB stuff because there's going to be a lot. So do you have anything else on your mind, though, before we get into that? Just things that have happened the last week or news items other than TWAB or anything you want to talk about? How's life? Other than tired.
Well, interesting enough, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but work has a book club, and I enjoyed it for the month of November, and I also joined up for December's as well. But there is a book. It's called The Last Thing He Told Me. I actually started reading it, and then I've been kind of reading a little bit here and there, like the first 70, 80 pages. But like after I got through that part and started reading it, book was actually pretty good, and I ended up knocking out the entire book over a few nights.
Nice.
Like I had a little bit of time, I just started crushing it. So I read that, and I'm sure you probably talked about it earlier, but we did Garden this week, a little bit of rating.
I didn't talk about that too much. I talked about I got Flawless and Trials, but for some reason the raids weren't coming top of mind. I mean, I know we've been doing a few still, but always good times there. But
and Far Cry 6?
Oh yeah, I've been playing a lot of that. I know you have too, right?
Yes. It's pretty interesting. I do like it. It's very cutscene driven, very, very much like a movie.
Or very much like Assassin's Creed. They have a lot of cutscenes too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their studios are big for doing cutscenes. Ubisoft's always been good for that.
Right, and I do like that. I do like that aspect because it is like you're playing like a movie, and then at that point. And speaking of movie, did you mention Red Notice? Well, you have it in.
No,
because
the podcast will not be out before then. But yes,
by the time they hear this, it would have already occurred.
Hopefully, by the time you hear this, you joined us for our movie night, Saturday night, watching Red Notice on Netflix. It's a good movie.
We've already seen it, but it's good. I will be there,
so we can vouch for it. All right. No, good things, good reminders on all that. And all right, let's get into this because we have a lot. So if we want to pull up the TWAB here and we can let you kind of guide the conversation, Des, I'm going to pull up
of course
ZTWAB as we're talking here.
I also do want to point out the header on this TWAB is indeed the Thorn armor.
Yes.
Oh, it looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I know.
Oh my god. Oh crap! And before I keep going, as a follow-up to kind of the GDC thing, my wife actually had her doctor's appointment today and has most of her meds now. So now is the work to get things steady and to get things in place, let's say. So yeah, that is definitely becoming a reality now. So, huzzah.
Right on.
Awesome.
So yeah, anyway, TWAB.
Not
that that's not important, but we got a lot to go through. Because also, this is a huge moment in Destiny history. This is essentially the day the wall came down. Because after years of taking their defense of PvP and PvE should be similar experiences, how one thing works in PvE, they wanted to work in PvP the same way. that wall's coming down. Because I will preface that a lot of these changes that are happening, there's a lot of them. Most of them are functional changes in PvP. So a lot of this stuff we're talking about is not going to touch PvE, unless they state it's getting a buff there as well. But anywho, this TWAB is taken over by the Sandbox team. Kevin Yanes, Johannes, however you want to pronounce that.
Johann Sebastian Yanes.
Nice. But no, the first thing they kind of went over, I guess, as an example of what they're calling the variable ability cooldown system, or to kind of follow to make it a little more in line with Fallout, I will refer to it as the variable ability timing system. So that way it'd be VATS. Anyway, Fallout people will get that. But some examples that they give is that they are going to be capable of individually tuning cooldown times for very specific abilities. The examples they give is for grenades, because currently, right now, most grenades have the exact, or at least in our light subclasses, grenades have the exact same cooldown timer, no matter what grenade you're using. Well, that's going to change. The examples they give is like the flux grenade. And also, as a side note, they mentioned this later in the TWAB, but of course, having actually read it, I can mention it now. When they refer to base cooldown on anything, apparently, what they're referring to is a tier 3 cooldown. So base, at least in design terms, is tier 3. So 2 and 1, and I guess 0, are all basically negatives. But when they refer to base cooldowns, it is tier 3. So Flux Grenade, they are actually increasing the base cooldown from 82 seconds to 182 seconds. Jeez.
My phone beeped when you said that. Making the point.
Right? I mean, they're almost adding 2 minutes to an ability cooldown. Now, why would they do that, Raven? Why? Because they're increasing attached detonation damage. Currently at 150, it will do 250. That's right. A one-shot kill in PvP once again. Just like all sticky nades from D1.
And this may be kind of, I think they hinted to this, or at least I read into it also, but it's almost like some of these grenades and abilities now can almost be like mini supers. You know, I mean, they're going to come less often, but they could get you a guaranteed kill if you do play them right.
I mean, yes. But, well, that's in the very start of this, that's one thing that they wanted to kind of reiterate about the pillars of, where is that exactly? Hang on,
I know,
because it's a great point.
Figuring it all out myself too.
But they refer to, it's probably way later down here.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, here we go. And it is definitely way later down here. But this is also another good point to bring up of why they're tuning. But they want weapons as the primary way players engage with combat. Non-super abilities accentuate or augment the combat, but should rarely solve an encounter by themselves. Abilities have clear strengths, weaknesses, and counterplay, and build crafting is rewarding within the moment-to-moment combat loop of Destiny. So these are the pillars that they're trying to follow for PvP. That's like their blueprint. I mean, that's what a pillar is. Duh. Anyway. But yeah, so yeah, they can be powerful, but they can be countered. And of course, one thing that they are doing is, of course, like this, they're adding 100 seconds to a cooldown timer because they don't want it around super often to where it becomes frustrating. You know, like one-shot kill sticky nades in D1. Anyway.
Yeah.
But they are also increasing the damage in PvE by 15% on top of the base damage increase. removed projectile tracking, which I assume means it won't home in on a target. But they are also adding a small amount of aim assist. I guess, without the more aggressive tracking, it'll probably need it to stick a little easier. They are increasing the throw speed by 117%, which sounds like a lot. And it will stick to all surfaces. So that will be the Flux Grenade post the 30th anniversary.
You know what I just thought of? And I'm sure some people may be asking for this, and it could be an absurd thing, but some of these grenade, like this one's going to be pretty lethal, right? And since it doesn't come up that often now, 182 seconds, at least for the base cooldown, I wonder if people are going to be funny and say like, so we get to know when the enemy team gets their supers. Are we going to get to know now when they have their grenades on the screen?
I know, right?
That'd be very interesting if somehow we had like a second drop down that showed, okay, they have their grenades. We got to be careful.
Right.
Anyway,
it's like, no, he's using a Flux Grenade. Now he has it. It's up. It's ready. Careful. No, yeah, it's gonna be. Oof, it's gonna be a thing. That's for sure. But again, on the opposite side of that coin is the Firebolt Grenade, where they are reducing the base cooldown, 82 seconds, to 64 seconds. But they are reducing its damage from 90 per bolt to 65. And again, increasing damage versus combatants in PvE by 15%. So, I mean, you're looking at a 1 minute grenade at a tier 3 discipline.
And I'm glad I caught this a little later in the day. I didn't catch this at first, and I was assuming, since I didn't read the exact line under Firebolt for reduced base cooldown from 80 to 64, when I saw the first one up above, I kind of had the impression that all grenades were getting increased in time. So once I found this out a little later in the day, I was like really excited. I was like,
yeah,
this opens up a whole world. And I'm sure you already know this, but like this opens up a whole world where different grenades can not be constantly changing, but like they have the ability to tune different grenades now, and the ones that are less powerful will come more often, and the ones that are more powerful will come less often.
Exactly. Which again, I mean, that's the entire reason they're making Flux a one-hit kill again. And yeah, things like Firebolt, even though it's low damage, I mean, it does 65 damage. It could be a cleanup tool, like someone's trying to get away, and well, you're most likely going to have a Firebolt grenade to toss to at least get the cleanup. So again, they're definitely
it
definitely
PvE,
seems to in PvE.
And I was thinking mostly PvE, and even this one they say, I guess all the grenades are probably going to get 15% in PvE. It seems like an extra 15%.
Minimum.
Yeah. Okay. So this is awesome. So we'll be getting this more often, and it'll do more damage in PvE.
Yes.
Compared to what it used to do.
Oh yeah, indeed. Which I don't know, for Firebolt it might. Because I don't know, because they didn't mention, because they mentioned doing 250 damage for the Flux Grenade. Which I guess that is the base damage. What a Guardian receives, I guess, would be the base damage. So that 15% might actually bring it back in line to roughly what it was in PvE. But still, you're getting more Firebolts in PvE. So
yeah,
you're getting more overall damage. This will be easier to use them.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, and they do mention on the character screen you'll actually see the cooldown time of your abilities as they're affected by your equipped ability and armor stats, except for class abilities.
So we won't see class abilities, but I think they mention, and maybe you'll get to it, that class abilities will generally be slowed by a little bit. I think I read somewhere.
For the most part. I don't think rifts are being touched at all. Let's see. Variable cooldown. I'm a TLDR as much of this as I can because my god.
The girth was too much to handle.
The girth is way too. I can only widen my jaw so much. Let's see.
And I see Sin booted up Destiny 2.
Yep.
Okay, so another thing that they're also tweaking again because they can tweak individual things now. But either way, they are changing how super regeneration is going to work. I think this is a global change, but from the way they said, it shouldn't be felt in PvE too much. But where it should be felt a little more is, of course, PvP. So key goals in PvE, super uptime should be relatively unchanged from the live game, if not slightly higher. And these are bullet points, which of course they go on to explain a little more, but most of them don't really need much more explanation than what they're giving them. But anyway, everybody should get at least one super in a 6v6 match that goes to the score or time limit as long as they engage in regular combat. So I'm guessing that's kind of one of their design goals for supers, is if A, the game is really long because maybe people are being passive, you'll get a super. B, you're getting closer to the score limit and you're an active participant in combat, you'll get a super. But they do want basically at least one per game for whatever reason. And of course, by that, because I didn't entirely bypass the change to super regen, but they are going to be modifying super regen to give you more super energy so long as you're participating actively in combat, meaning you're either shooting and damaging something or you're getting damaged by something. So kind of like how Frenzy works.
This will be PvE also, right? Everywhere? Right?
Yes, this is everywhere. Okay. But like they said, in PvE, it shouldn't be felt too much. Shouldn't. But they do say it might be slightly higher. So we might actually get a couple more supers in PvE out of this because of it.
And then remember where they were hinting to like they don't want Masterwork Weapons' main goal for being orbs and super regen. How's this all going to play together? Do we think there's even a chance orbs are going to be deprecated somewhat for Masterwork Weapons, or maybe not? Maybe that's still staying right now.
Who knows?
Who knows? I'm just trying to think of how this all plays together, because if we're still getting the orbs we're already getting, and then if in theory they say by shooting stuff you can regen your super, but maybe that's only PvP mostly. I don't know. I'm just trying to think why it wouldn't be extremely higher in PvE if we're picking up orbs and shooting a lot of stuff.
That's true. So I mean, I don't. Who knows?
Time will tell. We'll find out, and we'll let you know once we know more.
Because by no means is this comprehensive, or else they mentioned they would have just entirely hijacked this TWAB. But they do mention, where did I leave off? Yeah, okay. Supers should be less frequent in 3v3 modes than in the live game, where 2 supers per match right now is a fairly common occurrence. So they are looking to reduce supers in PvP, or at least in the 3v3. I will mention here that while there is absolute skill in outmaneuvering active supers and playing around super uptime, supers in general are perfectly designed to be accessible power fantasy for all players. And then here creates this. Hang on. Yeah, these modes are about expression of player skill. We want that skill to be primarily about team coordination, positioning, intelligent use of your abilities, and first and foremost, gunplay. So yeah, because I think they mentioned earlier it was that they want to kind of stop the passive play just to build up super, and then potentially entirely get around just because you have 1 or 2 supers up. So they're looking to make supers a little less weighted in competitive modes. Again, where they want your gunplay to shine. Another bullet point is primary weapon play should have a noticeable benefit in super
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, benefit in super energy regeneration. Whew. All right.
No worries. Take your time. I know we're choking up over this amazing TWAB. I do want to say real quick, I think I read something too. People are like, okay, so primary weapons will help with super regen. Are we going to see a lot more double primaries rolling?
I mean, potentially, it could be a thing. But they also do mention that primary weapon damage will have a significantly higher return of super energy per damage point than any other type of damage. So it might not be super great, but it will be apparently potentially be the best option. Yeah. So who knows how that'll turn out. Another bullet point, which is a massive point. Different supers should come online at different times in a given match, and your super of choice should have an impact on how quickly it regenerates. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's an intriguing comment. And this is, just so you know, this is the first time I've read it.
Oh God,
I didn't read it this morning. So, yeah.
What do you
Well,
think?
then.
Well, we can wait to the end too if we want, but
Live reactions.
Right. But Wilson, get ready. Hope you're sitting down and strapped in, because they are introducing super regeneration tiers. So tier 5 super will basically have the fastest regeneration speed. So basically the quickest supers in the game. Right now, on tier 5 is solely occupied by Well of Radiance. So it will be the fastest regenerating super in Destiny 2 come the 30th anniversary pack. They do mention down below that once Witch Queen drops and Bubble is separated into its own super, considering they are reworking Void subclasses, so there's a hint there, but Bubble will be its own super and it will also be a tier 5. So the support supers are actually going to have faster regens than anything else.
wait, question real quick. Are these base regens or just what it's going to be? Like, does intellect still matter?
Yes. Intellect. I mean,
well, it said intellect still mattered in one of the earlier bullet points. That because I've been trying to read along. I mean, you are going through.
So
like
I don't understand what tier 5.
You
just get a tier 5 for free? Okay, sorry. I'm sure.
No. That's okay. These tiers are separate from your intellect tiers, just entirely.
Okay, that helps.
These are These are basically internal tiers for how fast these supers will regen. So a tier 5 super will have potentially have a faster intellect timer than anything else.
Gotcha.
So tier 4 will be occupied by Blade Barrage, and so again, tier 4, second fastest supers in the game. Blade Barrage and Silence and Squall. Excuse me? Silence and Squall.
That's an interesting choice.
Me and Lumina were talking about that, and we do agree that should be a tier 3. It's like, come on, Bungie, what are you doing? That's a little nuts. Tier 3, which is right down the middle, will be Shadow Shot, Burning Maul, which is Middle Tree Hammer, Arc Staff, Nova Bomb, Thunder Crash. Tier 2. The next to slowest supers are going to be Golden Gun, Chaos Reach, Nova Warp, Storm Trance, Daybreak, and Sentinel Shield. Some slightly annoying roamers, the supers that have like infinite range, aka Golden Gun and Chaos Reach. And in tier 1, the slowest regenerating supers are Spectral Blades, Fist of Havoc, Hammer of Soul, Glacial Quake, and Winter's Wrath. Pretty much the nightmare supers. Except for Nova Warp, but whatever.
And Storm Trance. I play Storm Trance in PvP. And I mean, depending on how well I'm doing, especially in trials, I can sometimes, with the way I'm set up, and it's probably not the fastest, because it's not maxed out for the intellect stat, I can, depending on how the matches are going, I can sometimes get 2 per trials match.
And that's one thing they're definitely trying to prevent. Because they definitely don't want supers to be as common in, especially in 3v3s. Which again, it makes sense, especially for trials. I mean, because yeah, 1 super up, if you're good enough. Just strategically, 1 super can get you a pick, and if you're a good enough team, you can take advantage of that pick and just get the entire round just because you were able to open up with a super. So these are things they're definitely looking to try and pull back on a little bit. Hopefully not awfully too much. So those are the list of super regions and how they're going to work. And again, like Sin said, this is a super TLDR because there are so many more things to read. I would definitely suggest anyone to go through and definitely, because a lot of also what they're giving is their design philosophy and their reasoning behind a lot of these changes. So what I primarily want to cover are the changes themselves. And then, yeah, because holy crap. Hang on. There it is. So, next they move on to non-super abilities. Which again, this is where they give the pillars that they talked about earlier. And they do mention that they're not there yet to line up with these pillars. Because they do say ability uptype in the Crucible is too high for their current potency. And the fact that build crafting, the way it exists now, just because they want to keep the power fantasy up in PvE and they want them to be the same, but PvE build crafting is creating ability spams in PvP. So enough is enough. See, some things that are getting touched. So yes, these perks will have their ability energy regeneration reduced by roughly 50% in PvP. We targeted perks that can either activate out of combat with a single button press, or those that were returning amounts of ability energy that were significantly out of band. Which I'm wondering if that was supposed to be out of hand, but you know. So Whisper of Shards, which is a stasis fragment, Arc Web for Storm Call, or Arc Web, Rising Storm, and Ionic Traces, and Electrostatic Surge for Stormcallers. Aftershocks, Inertia Override for Striker Titans, Benevolent Dawn for Tomblade Warlocks, Practice Makes Perfects for Gunslinger, and Dark Matter for Voidwalker Warlocks. So those abilities will not give you as much ability energy in PvP, but they do mention these are most definitely PvP changes. So they are effectively going to be more effective in PvE than in PvP. And then there are subclass in super perks, which are basically, there's only 2 supers that really do it. And that is those supers that basically give you more super energy while you get kills in your super. And that is Everlasting Fire for Dawnblade Warlocks and Trample for Strikelet Titans. They are changing those to, I do believe, give you less super energy on returns on kills. I'm trying to find, because I think they even mentioned a hard cap on it, that you'll be capping or hitting like the least energy regeneration in like 3 kills, whereas right now it takes like 7 kills to hit that like bottom mark energy regeneration or super regen or pre-funded super or whatever you want to call it. But I'm not seeing it here. I know I read that somewhere.
I wish I could help, but this part I didn't read as much yet.
Yeah.
Except for a couple things, but we'll get to those
Yeah,
later.
They do mention that these perks scale down. Energy returns as you get kills in your super. Okay, and I will read this because, again, we've all been there. These perks often result in supers being able to roam the map for much longer than is healthy for the game, and mean that a victim can frequently die to an active super, respawn on the other side of the map, and be killed by that same super again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sadly, I don't think it's either been by a Striker or a Dawnblade. No, normally for me it's either Stormcaller or freaking Nova Warp. But maybe I didn't respawn exactly across the map. But you know. Then of course there are a bunch of exotics that just kind of freely give us some kind of ability energy. Yeah, they're all getting touched for PvP. Frosties for hunters, which are dumb because all you have to do is run and you get better ability times. It's legitimately how they work. They do mention that this will no longer stack multiplicatively in PvP with other regeneration buffs, but will be an additive scaler. Heart of Inmost Light is getting hit basically by 50% in PvP, but they are mentioning that they are going to rework it. So activating multiple abilities will now reliably result in multiple empowered stacks. The stacking behavior was previously a bug, but this seemed like a good opportunity to promote it to a feature.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Controverse Hold. The duration of the grenade regeneration buff will no longer be random between 1 and 4 seconds, and will be a fixed duration of 1.75 seconds. And they reduced the grenade energy regeneration scalar by 50%. And then they go on to say that it's 1.78 seconds because that was the average of when the gloves would activate. That was the average time, was 1.78 seconds. Even though most commonly, a 1 second duration was the most common. So even though, yeah, it's not going to last 4 seconds, it's still going to last nearly twice the length as it would, at least most commonly. So there's that. All right. Whew. Doomfang Pauldrons, of course, will reduce super energy gain on activation when an opposing player is killed by void melee by 50%. Shinobu's Vow, reduce grenade energy gain on hits versus players by 66%. Crown of Tempest, grenade, melee, and super energy regeneration scalar buff duration reduced from 7 seconds to 4 seconds, and the stag is reduced class ability energy refund on shield break by 50%.
Hey, Sin, you won't be seeing the stags in Crucible anymore so much.
Yep. Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not.
I'll have to find a new exotic for my warlock.
And you were kind of saying this, Des, but if you look at pretty much every single line, no change in PvE, no change in PvE, no change in PvE. So it's like, yeah, we're really getting some differences here.
Indeed. I mean, like I said, they're finally, I mean, it's happening. The wall is being torn down, and this is a glorious day. But going on, armor mods. In general, these armor mods will have reduced energy returns by roughly 50%, depending on the number of copies of the mod you have slotted. So what they go through is melee, grenade, and utility kickstarts, perpetuation, bolstering detonation, focusing strike, bomber, outreach, dynamo, distribution, momentum transfer, and impact induction. So yeah.
I mean, if they're reducing it by 50%, I almost just wonder if it would just been easier to like remove it as an option at all in PvP, and then you don't even have to count on it. In some ways, that would simplify in my mind.
It's still good though. It's still going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
you're right. It's
especially-
just really just making it so it's again more fair
Yeah.
and realistic to use as opposed to too often you get the abilities.
Yeah, because I actually run, at least now, or when it came out, I run 2 utility kickstarts from a hunter in PvP. Because it gives you close to half of your class ability back just by using your class ability.
Mm.
And it's probably more closer to a third, but somewhere in that range. So even knocking it down to 50% of that gain is still a pretty significant little chunk. Oh, jeez. All right. And then this title is, dang, this is long.
Are we there yet? I need to go to the bathroom.
I'll turn this card around. Anyway. So yes, so they tag out to another individual to talk about more ability tuning. I want to get this out of the way. Yeah, I want to get this out of the way. It's way down there a little bit. But the fact that Kevin Yanes, I don't even know how I want to pronounce that name. Kevin Yanes mentioned on Twitter, because of course I think it was Dado that complained about Shatter Dive. And it's could you just take it out of the game? Kevin Yanes did specifically say that they were nerfing Shatter Dive. He lied. They buffed Shatter Dive. I'm actually not kidding, because in PvE, Shatter Dive will actually do 100% more shatter damage. So what do they do to Shatter Dive? Absolute nothing. Get wrecked, nerds. Not kidding. They have done nothing other than that to Shatter Dive. What they have nerfed and what they have touched is the real problem. And that was stasis crystals. Such as in the Glacier Grenade. Or as it's sometimes called, the good old fair and balanced. But, and again, all of these changes are PvP. But while forming, stasis crystals will now slow nearby players instead of freezing them. They are increasing the radius by which things are affected by it from 1.75 meters to 2.6 meters. They are reducing crystal detonation damage versus players by roughly 55%. They are increasing the crystal detonation damage versus PvE combatants by 60%. And they will increase the crystal detonation radius from 6 to 8 meters.
Yeah, I think this is all good. And then, did you mention, but the cool buff in PVE that it's getting? I think that's the paragraph above.
Yes.
Maybe you did. I just wasn't paying attention.
Well, it does say that they're increasing detonation damage in PvE by 60%. So
Yeah, that's right. And it's cool how they explain it too. Like they just were saying that it was almost always better to just shoot the enemy. So it was like, what's the point? But now it's going to be great to shoot the crystals and have better damage in PVE.
Yeah, bigger radius too.
It'll help them live out their explosive barrel dreams.
That's right. But they do mention, at least also in the Shatter Dive note down below, also, that basically the only way that Shatter Dive will score a kill with Glacier Nade is going to be Shatter Dive may still kill if the hunter is using Whisper of Fissures, Touch of Winter, and the target is in the very center of all 6 crystals. And then it will still be a kill. Which is why in our Discord I made mention that such a thing has happened to me where I've been in the center of which Touch of Winter alters the grenades and makes it a box formation for hunters. So yeah, being in the very center, I've been stuck in that position playing PvP. It's not an extraordinarily common occurrence. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't. I might have and just didn't make note, but I would say most of the time I'm like near it or something, but
Yeah.
not right in the middle.
Yes. So yes, they're explosive barrels, but they will hurt far less in PvP. Which again, I love the fact that they mentioned specifically, like I said, nerfing Shadow Dive, which potentially is what they meant was, of course, the tactic of freezing people and then Shadow Diving to get your damage, or Glacier Nade Shadow Diving. By the way, just the fact that they're actually touching the problem rather than again hitting Shadow Dive for no good reason. I'm ecstatic over this. I'm ecstatic over this, even though I'm losing one of my tactics. Um, but it's fine. It's fine because it was dumb. But before Shatter Dive, Hunter
It was more than
Dodge.
dumb. It was ridiculous.
It was. But also the good news is, for all you hunters out there, it will still be a decently viable trial strategy. Just saying, if someone's taking a res, you toss down that Glacier Nade, hopefully get them in the center of the box, Shatter Dive, you might still be able to get a double right then and there, maybe. Or at least make them extremely weak to get cleanups. So will still have its functions, hopefully. Hopefully. We'll see. But yes, Hunter Dodge. Hunter Dodge will no longer break projectile tracking. That's fine. Marksman Dodge. They are actually, of course, they are increasing the cooldown for Marksman Dodge. Tier 10 mobility cooldown. I love the fact that they reveal these numbers to everyone, just to let you know how stupidly low Hunter cooldowns are. But yeah, 10 tier mobility cooldown is increased from 11 seconds to 14 seconds for Marksman Dodge. And the base cooldown time is unchanged at 29 seconds. Gambler's Dodge, which is the dodge they definitely wanted to touch on, because of course Gambler's Dodge is the one that actually changes your profile in the middle of a match, because it's the combat roll, I suppose, rather than the twirl. They are increasing that tier 10 cooldown from 11 seconds to 18 seconds. And they are raising the base cooldown from 29 to 38. So yeah, it's going to be pretty important to run mobility still. Oh, yes, and also Grim Harvest, they're increasing fragment slots from 2 to 3 for Grim Harvest for hunters. Hooray. Top tree Arc Striders, because of the changes that they're making to dodges, especially Gambler's Dodge being a little longer. For the combination blow melee, even though I guess it will still give ability energy when you get a melee kill, they are reducing the cooldown for combination blow from 96 seconds base tier 3 to 15 seconds. That's a small cooldown for a melee. It's like a super small cooldown, and that's tier 3.
Yeah.
And also more Trolley Hunter news. Vanish in Smoke, because it has low damage output, but it has great utility. So what's Bungie going to do? They're reducing base cooldown from 96 to 75 seconds, so Pathfinder hunters can go invisible more often. Are you kidding me? Anywho.
Hey, it may actually get me again to play on Hunter.
I know, right? Like I said, that's what? Yeah, that's 21 seconds just knocked off of a melee, just so you can go invisible more. That actually creates even more synergy with Graviton Forfeit, which does stuff while you're invisible. Anyway, sorry. Moving on. because the rest of these ability changes are kind of sad.
Sin, listen up. It's Titan time. I assume you're getting to Titans next.
Yeah, let's all have a moment of silence for all shoulder charges.
I didn't use shoulder charge too often. Maybe I actually don't even know when the last time was.
But yeah, they've decided to reduce the number of abilities that can one-shot kill a full health guardian in PvP. So they raise flux. They raise a sticky nade to a one-hit kill. Anywho, I digress. So as
how
such,
often were shoulder charges? Like, if you had to guess,
dude,
how many? They were pretty often, right? You could get them.
my skill bracket, at least. I don't know. Of course, actually, yeah, there is no skill-based matchmaking anymore in casual PvP. I don't think. Every time I run PvP, at least once within like 3 matches, I'm running across at least one Titan with insurmountable skull fort that their entire goal is to shoulder charge as many people as they can, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's aggravating. But, I mean, A, it takes an exotic slot, and B, that's that case. Like, pretty much any other shoulder charge, I was pretty fairly okay with, except for those situations. Because, I mean, at that point in time, they're just getting infinite shoulder charges. And that's just awful, because they're doing an awful tactic, and they're being rewarded for it, so they just keep doing the tactic, because in 6s it works. So, all shoulder charges will no longer one-shot players. But sprint activation time... Okay, so here's the note. Alright. They're getting rid of its capability to be a one-hit kill, but they are giving shoulder charge its mobility back. So that's an important thing to actually take a note. Because sprint activation time will be reduced from 1.5 seconds to 1.25 seconds, so it will activate a little quicker. They are increasing its range from 5.5 to 6.8 meters. The targeting cone width will be increased by 10%, which means it will hit easier. And they're increasing damage versus PvE combatants by 25%.
Yay! See, whenever I played my Titan, and my wife loved this too. This was fun to do in PvE, I thought, and maybe it wasn't super powerful, but now there's some more power to it. So,
Indeed.
Sin, get those shoulders charging in PvE.
Bulky Titan shoulders.
You like to go balls deep, so this will help.
Yeah, this is true.
Keep that fantasy running. And then
I
we'll
do
see
remember
Guardian
using
down, Guardian down.
shoulder charge on.
Are you gonna say
what was it
Rogue?
when? Well, I was going to say on the shoulder charge area, the solar one, when running that in PvE for that debuff or buff, I use that shoulder charge a lot for mobility. Like if I was going to miss something, I would just go ahead and activate shoulder charge to get a little extra boost to like make it towards a ledge, or to jump
or
out
get
of
into
the way.
Portal quicker.
Get into the portal quicker. Yeah, whatever the case may be, I did use it a lot for mobility.
Might as well, yeah. I mean, I like this. I'm not even a Titan main for PvE anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, at least, because I mean, I know it was a while back that they took away a lot of the mobility option that shoulder charge had, so at the very least, they are bringing some of that back. Like I said, and I don't know how you would really change. Well, actually, no, they pretty much, because you can just have insurmountable skull fort, not guarantee a melee when you kill someone with a melee. But anywho, so for Seismic Strike, Shield Bash, and Hammer Strike, they're increasing the base cooldown from 82 to 90 seconds. Both Seismic Strike and Shield Bash will have its AoE damage reduced from 90 to 40, while the Hammer Strike will have a damage reduction from 170 to 120. But here's a caveat. Arc Shoulder Charge will be able to blind enemies in the area on hit. I like that. Because, flashbangs are annoying. So why not just make the Titan a flashbang? That's going to be interesting.
Why not?
Great. Barricades.
You're our missile.
So,
We send you out. First line of defense.
right. So they mentioned even with the rally barricade changes that they made in Season of the Lost, using the ability during a firefight is still a risky proposition. So they've made some changes to that. So Towering Barricade has had its cooldown increased from 37 to 40 seconds at base. Rally Barricade has its cooldown reduced from 37 seconds to 32 seconds. So you can actually get rally barricades a little quicker. Behemoth Stasis Titans. They agreed with the community. It could use a little loving. So they're increasing its fragment slots, or for Diamond Lance, they're increasing the fragment slots from 1 to 3, which is a pretty massive jump. It will now spawn a Diamond Lance upon killing a PvP combatant, or killing a PvE combatant with a stasis weapon, killing 3 players with stasis weapons in a single life, killing an enemy with a stasis ability, or shattering an enemy. So I'm guessing that's going to be resulting in more Diamond Lances. Shiver Strike, they're increasing its damage while in Glacier Quake by 50%. So it'll have a little more oomph, at least in Super. And they do know Whisper of Change is used by all stasis things, but since Behemoth Titans make crystals and that's their thing, they are increasing the damage resistance versus PvE combatants from 25 to 40%. So you can actually create crystals everywhere and benefit from some pretty good damage reduction. And then apparently one thing that's been a nightmare is bottom tree strikers. So for knockout, the melee lunge range and melee damage bonus will now deactivate after a melee kill. Trample, super energy gain from Fist of Havoc. Here's where they say it. But yeah, super energy gain from Fist of Havoc, light attack now decays to a minimum amount over 3 PvP kills, down from 7. So on your 3rd kill and after, you'll be getting the very least possible amount of super energy back. Frontal Assault Melee, they are increasing the base cooldown from 82 to 106 seconds. Fist of Havoc, for bottom tree only, heavy slam radius from 8 to 6 meters. For bottom tree only. Warlocks. Rejoice.
Dun, dun.
Rejoice, Warlocks.
I did read this,
You
of
will
course.
Yeah, they are. All subclasses are now equal when it comes to slap fights.
Yay.
Uncharged melee fights. Apparently, Warlocks had more melee rain or more melee lunge on their uncharged melee, but they had a slight delay, so they actually couldn't spam punch as fast as Titans or Hunters.
Yeah, so
which
you
could
really
definitely
had
equate.
to hope that you got that first one at range, so you had a split second that you
Yeah.
would lose on the second slap if they, yeah. No, this is great. I think this is good.
Indeed.
Oh, and I may have cut you off, but yeah, they basically
thank
were
you.
saying too, they're basically making, the exact same time. So, melee back to back at the same speed as Hunter and Titan.
Yep. They did mention though, Yeah, we still think the idea of each class having unique qualities to their melee is interesting, but we want to do it in a way that won't cause one class to consistently lose slap fights. Maybe someday in the future. So it is something that'll still consider. They just want it, I guess, to be a little more fair. But on to the nitty gritties. Middle Tree Void Walkers. Handheld Supernova will no longer one-shot in PvP. Kind of happy about this one.
Yeah,
I
thank
mean,
you, Jeebus, on that.
you did have to hit most of the blast in order to one-shot, I think. I don't know. I never really tried it.
I don't know either. I
But,
never tried it.
yeah.
Did you
But,
feel like you got caught by
well,
it a lot, Sin or Des? I mean, no one really used it on me ever.
I've ran
Yeah,
across a few that were good with it. I have ran across a few that were
Yeah.
good with it, and it can be
I would agree
frustrating.
with that.
Yeah.
It is a little frustrating in those instances. You run
Yeah.
around a corner, and they're just sitting there holding it in position, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're dead.
Yeah. I will say it's definitely not as annoying as, again, Insurmountable Skullfort Shoulder Charging Titans, but still can be aggravating. But again, most of that has. A lot of the good people I've seen use it almost like a secondary shotgun, basically. They'll like hold it and charge it, and like since you come around a corner and just you're erased. Let's see. Yes, will no longer one shot in PvP. It will deal 150 damage at the maximum. They are increasing damage versus champions and bosses though by 30%. So that's nice in PvE. They're increasing the projectile range from 12 to 14 meters, and now it will push targets away from the warlock on detonation, which I think is super nice. And I do mean super nice. That's going to create some interesting stuff, I think. But also, Nova Warp, they will increase damage versus champions and bosses by 30%, so it'll be a little more useful in PvE. Nothing about time duration reduction in PvP, though. Thanks, Bungie. Let's see here. Shadebinders, Stasis Warlocks, Winter's Wrath. They are reducing. They noticed to preface this, they have noticed that changes that they made before to Winter's Wrath, which is the melee, has pretty much made it pretty bad in PvE. So they're making some changes to help it find a good place in PvE again. Nope, that's not right at all. That's Penumbral Blast. Oops. But still, everything I just said, instead of Winter's Wrath, Penumbral Blast. Which they are increasing proximity detonation radius versus PvE combatants by 100%. So double the radius in PvE. Maybe you'll be able to free stuff better in PvE. Winter's Wrath is the super, because I'm a dummy. They are reducing the Shatter Pulse damage versus enemy supers. They do mention, and basically, in order to kill an enemy super with Winter's Wrath, you will need to freeze and shatter. Freeze and shatter. You will need to do it twice against all supers in order to kill a super. Because they don't really like the fact that you can just freeze and shatter and kill pretty much every super. Then Bleak Watcher, just to prevent some cheesy stuff going on with Bleak Watcher, because Bleak Watcher goes off of your grenade. So that way you're not using the fastest grenade just to get, faster Bleak Watchers. While Bleak Watcher is equipped, all stasis grenades charge at glacier grenade rate. So, no cheesing. Because I'm going to assume that glacier grenade is going to be the slowest charging stasis grenade. Oh my god. We've done it.
The
That's
end
it.
is finally there. Those are
That's it.
a lot of changes,
It's
and
a
it's
lot of changes.
and just going through them quickly. I mean, some of them I probably didn't grasp entirely, like the ramifications of like how they're going to play out. But I don't think any of us really can see what they're going to play out to be until we get the new mods for the season and kind of see it,
Yeah.
or get the new mods for the following season. Do they say this is going live on Witch Queen or the 30th anniversary?
No, this is the 30th anniversary stuff. This
So
is
we'll be able to
all
play
of
with it in the current
December 7th.
sandbox.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is all going live December 7th.
It's going to be
Like,
it's
it's
going
a
to
lot.
be a busy couple months before Witch
It
Queen.
is. It is. Because, at least the good news is also, we do have a couple months to play around and get used to it before subclass 3.0 hits void and really completely changes the face of how those subclasses work. Because they have told us how they're going to, because basically the void light subclasses will function like stasis subclasses somehow. That's all they've told us. So that's
Right.
still going to be something coming, and that's Witch Queen. So at the very least, yeah, we'll have these. I feel like they probably did this. Like, I think they knew they would probably have to, potentially. But also, this kind of does help, like I said, subclass 3.0, with how everything is separated to be equipable rather than just selecting a tree. And even more so than even Destiny 1 had. So yeah, I almost feel like this is like hand in hand with like that system. Like maybe something
Right.
in that system inspired them to separate the ability cooldowns. In the end, so that way they can. Or maybe it was independent. I don't know. By the way, I still think it's cool that when just before we're able to like really fully customize everything, everything is going to have like you're actually going to have to pay attention to what you're equipping all of a sudden. From your grenade to your melee to your super, everything is going to have like thoughts and like how you're going to use it essentially. So it's going to be super cool. And yeah, the build crafting is going to go off the freaking charts.
And the amount of work they put into all this, it's just really impressive.
Yeah,
because undoubtedly they have a lot going on.
Undoubtedly, because this is the Sandbox team.
Yeah,
this is a team that's potentially working on this stuff for 30th anniversary and stuff for Witch Queen right now. So they've got a lot on their plate.
It seems like the last year or so, we've been hearing stories of them hiring more and things like that. So maybe this was all good news building up. It was a slow burn, but this next year of Destiny, we could be reaching the golden age of Destiny 2 for sure.
Right. Because, yeah, all of these changes, like these changes are massive for an expansion drop.
Yeah.
And this is a mid-season patch. Now, to be fair, we're also getting, way more content than we would ever get mid-season thanks to the 30th anniversary thing. But again, these changes are massive. Like, this would be massive if it dropped in Beyond Light.
It is.
And it's dropping in the middle of a freaking season.
To be fair, it is a long season, right? Because they did push it back, 3-4 months? 5 months like even?
But we had that kind of last year too, and we didn't get anything like this.
Right?
It wasn't as long, but it was close. It was 5 months versus 6 months or something like that. But
what?
Well, November versus September, but now it's November to February.
Yeah.
So even if they kept the same timeline,
September.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was 2 months. It was a 2-month extension last time, and yeah, this one's going from November to November would be December, January, 3 months. So yeah, a 3-month extension. So yeah, it's an extra month from what we had last time, roughly.
roughly, yeah. And another thing that I'm really excited about is, how we've gotten more updates with at least trials this season, like changes pretty often. Like for how long the season's been going on, we've had 4 or so tunings. We've had different trials. They're actually serious about labs this time. Different things are happening.
Yeah.
Well, there was a piece of news that came out, excuse me, on Twitter where they didn't tell us much more, but a little teeny bit more about Gambit. They're saying like, okay, we still don't really have things to announce of what's happening with Gambit next year, but we're at least going to be getting tuning and the fights, Primeval, the rounds. I forget all the details they said. They didn't commit to maps yet. But what they were kind of saying in a roundabout way, which is even more interesting to me, is they're having teams working on the different ritual activities, kind of like what we're seeing with trials right now. And so this could be excellent news for Gambit and Strikes down the road of potential multiple tunes or change, not like new maps or new strikes or things like that all the time, but multiple changes throughout seasons and new little labs. And who knows, like we could have more like interesting, like, oh, kind of like what we're getting with Nightfalls, but Strikes. We're going to have a really interesting like Daybreak or fun thing that's going on for this week. And then, oh, we're going to tune something different the next week. That's kind of what I was reading into it. I hope anyways that the ritual teams are kind of the ritual activities is what they call it, will be like getting some love on the other things too.
Yeah,
Right.
it will be nice. Oh, and they do mention there will be a TWAP next week.
Yeah, we were wondering.
But-
it's going to be on Wednesday. I think they have done that previous years, right? Wednesday instead of
But
Thursday.
it is going to be a light TWAP because
TWAB.
most people will be out with their families and stuff. So,
Yeah, TWAB Max this week, TWAB Light next week.
All right. I mean, what they could have done is like cut this TWAB in half and just like posted the rest of it next week.
Yeah, for sure.
What they could have done.
No one will ever know.
I mean,
I can hear that TikTok song
legitimately.
playing over my head. How are they going to know? No one will ever know.
Good God. This was ridiculous. Like, because this is a crap ton of information just drop on our lap. And again, I TLDR'd a whole lot of that, as Sin can testify.
Yeah.
We're trying to follow along with my speed.
Yeah, we needed to. But
again,
yeah, there's a lot.
I absolutely had to, or else we'd still be going. If I was even reading all of the interesting points, we would still be going. I'd probably be halfway through. But I definitely highly, highly, highly recommend, like, if you're going to read a TWAB, like one TWAB a year, this is the TWAB to read. Because, again, it just gives so much insight into what they're trying to do, and they really do justify pretty much every change they're making, either with data or just their design pillars that they're really, looking to make PvP. So, like I said, it's a really great read. All in all. But so much. So much. And again, here's the possibility that they're finally seeing now that in order to make each aspect of Destiny better, they're having to they're technically having to build a wall to separate how things work, which is mind-boggling that they're finally doing this. Because this goes, well, like I said before, this goes against everything that they've been trying to latch onto, because they've wanted everything to be the same. This gun rocks in PvE. You should be able to hop into PvP and it's still going to rock. Like, that's been their mentality. This thing is really great in PvE. It should do this in PvP as well, but again, pretty much since the introduction of stasis, they've had to slowly learn we can't keep things the same. Something is going to suffer if they try and keep things unified. And so far it has. Like, every change they've made to stasis has usually been better for PvP and worse for PvE. They try and correct something and it's the opposite. So I'm really glad to start to see this division.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. I don't know. I feel like I haven't been on Twitter much today, but I feel like a couple things I've read in Discords and on Twitter have generally been positive about so far. About I'm sure people have questions, but now watch. I'll check it tonight after I get off the podcast, and I see a lot of people complaining. But I want to say it's positive word on the street so far for today's TWAB.
Except for Hazel.
Hazel?
Poor Hazel.
Oh, yeah, I read something about that. We'll leave to see what he says on his podcast.
Indeed. I really hope somebody gets to that question. Anywho. But yeah.
Well, and I'm curious what Gator's been quiet today. I'm sure
I
he'll
know,
have
right?
something
He's
to say about
actually
it somewhere.
I know.
Where's Gator?
Right? Like, he's actually been surprisingly quiet about all this. Like, this is a massive TWAB. And I've only seen him say, like, one thing. I think.
This seems like good news, and I'm always like wait and see for like things that seem like bad news, but I'm excited for the changes. I'll at least say that, and I don't know what may seem annoying when it comes up, but I'm definitely excited to try this all out.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely weird that shoulder charges aren't going to be one hits anymore. Like I said, I'm okay with handheld Nova not being a one hit, but I don't know. I guess that's just still my mentality from D1, where shoulder charge was just a thing that was always active. So the fact that it became tied to the charge melee, it made it more okay to me in D2, and it still has been. So it still feels weird to me, as not even a Titan main, that shoulder charges aren't one hits anymore. So
yeah, and I main Titan in PvE, but I've been warlocking PvP mostly, and I'm okay with that not being one hit kill as well. I mean, I rank it up there as some, that kind of gets annoying too, along with the shatter dives are kind of sometimes annoying. I think it might make it a little more balanced.
Well, that's what they're obviously going for.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Is what we wanted to do here.
I know, right? With this much thought, you can tell, like, with this much thought and talk about what's going on, it's not like they're, let's just try this and see how. No, they put a lot of testing and thought into this,
Yeah, I wouldn't. Oh, and DMG is actually saying on Twitter to relook at Peregrine Greaves for Titan's missing shoulder charge. That's actually very true, because I think their entire purpose is to increase damage of aerial shoulder charges. So actually there could still be very much ways. You see, that is one reason I was kind of glad for shoulder charges not being one-hit kills, because that means retroactively they wouldn't have to touch Insurmountable Skullfort. Because without it being a one-hit kill, it means you're actually rewarded for saving your shoulder charge for a kill with Insurmountable Skullfort by getting another melee. It won't kill, but it can at least do a thing. So I do like that they didn't have to change, rework, potentially, push an exotic into the ground just to fix an annoying problem. I mean, again, shoulder charging is not one-hitting, but again, apparently there will be ways. And yeah, Mr. Monkey in our chat is telling us, showing the tweet itself, shoulder chargers, don't be too bummed. There's still an exotic that will help you secure those one bonk kills in the Crucible. Comes at the cost of your exotic slot, but hopefully it will have increased value come December 7th. And again, that's like, I guess, another generalistic Destiny design mentality is to try and make exotics more of a choice. So, yeah. And again, not making shoulder chargers one hits immediately increases the value of Peregrine Greaves. It actually gives you a choice and a purpose for using Insurmountable Skullforts other than being an annoying douchebag in PvP. So yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have a lot more to talk about this, especially because we're getting closer all the time. 2 weeks now by the time this podcast comes out. And boy, we'll be talking about all the new
What,
stuff and
19?
30th anniversary, and including
Yeah,
these changes and how they're going, and how we feel about it all
19 days as of recording.
as of right now.
They
Yeah.
mentioned 19 days from the TWAB,
Yep.
the posting of the TWAB. So yeah, 19 days.
Yeah.
That is not far away.
Not at all. Especially because like next week Thanksgiving seems to, I don't know for everyone. I mean, I know I feel bad for people that work retail or not, or even but have to work some
Oof.
through on Friday. Do you have to work Friday, Des? Or I don't know what
No,
your job's like, anyways. But yeah,
no, I'm manufacturing, so thankfully, most places close down day
yeah,
of and day after Thanksgiving at the very least.
nice.
Um,
So
That's a plus.
next week will
yeah,
be a easy week, and then just one more week, and then yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I don't have to live through the nightmare of Black Friday unless I actually choose to go out for some amazing sale, in which case I apologize greatly to anyone working in retail. Because yeah,
yep, for sure.
I do have understanding for people. It was so funny because me and the wife actually tried Bojangles, because we have a Bojangles around here, which I didn't know about. But we have Bojangles around here, and I hadn't tried it before. So we decided to grab some Bojangles for some dinner. Poor cashier was new, screwed up pretty much every which way you can imagine she could screw up. But again, I have been in her exact position. I was calm. It's like, don't worry about it. It's all good. Not even a problem. It was actually more funny than anything. But yeah, because I told her, it's like, I've been in your position before. Don't even
Yeah.
worry about it.
Oh yeah. Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so trying to
So
have sympathy for people in similar situations, because
for
it's
Yeah.
sure.
not
Yeah.
easy. It's not easy working with people
No, not at
at
all.
all, at all. Especially if you're trying to sell them something, anything. People become nightmares. Like when buying things becomes in any way part of the equation. Oof. And Black Friday, my God. Why has it become like a public thing? It used to just be a nightmare because it was the first shopping day of Christmas. And now it's a marketing gimmick.
And now it's on Thanksgiving.
Right? Which is freaking stupid because retail people can't even enjoy a Thanksgiving dinner.
One day. It's one
properly.
day, people.
Like, Jesus.
I mean, honest, my wife is one of the people that's like, because I normally have always worked on Black Friday, and I still will be this year. It'll be just from home, but when they opened up Thanksgiving, we used that as a time to go shopping for the kids, because it was really one of the few times we could go shopping together.
Yeah. And besides, Black Friday, like, since it's become a marketing thing, Black Friday even isn't where it's at, people. Cyber Monday deals are usually much better.
Yeah. I feel like Black Friday could be dying down a little bit, just because of some things that have happened the last couple of years, but also I thought I read a couple of retailers were even reversing their policy where they were not going to be open Thursday anymore.
Nice. Good.
Yeah, and I forget which
More
ones
people
it
should-
were. Yeah. So I think, I don't know for sure, and maybe this year, but also things are harder to get this year too. So that could be
Yeah.
another reason why people just know maybe not to go out as much.
Yeah, with technological things becoming scarce.
Mhm. Mm-hmm. So, little Christmas things kind of absurd, anyways. For like, well, that's the time to focus on presents. Just spread it out over the year and forget presents on
Seriously.
Christmas. Just have Christmas be an end of year celebration, but not presents. Just have it be
That's
food. You know.
As kind of like me and the wife, we don't necessarily enjoy doing things on Valentine's Day
Exactly.
because we don't
Yes.
want to intentionally. We don't want that one. We don't want to like get into the thought of, well, we need that day in order to do a thing. You
Yeah.
know, we just want to be able to do the thing rather than having the day tell us to do a thing.
I told my wife, you'll never get flowers on Valentine's Day, but you will get flowers a lot on other days of the year. I just don't like doing it on Valentine's Day.
I might do it around Valentine's Day because,
Yeah.
post Valentine's Day sales are amazing. So it lets me be a little more expressive with my budget, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, yeah. If we I don't think we've ever went out to dinner for Valentine's Day. We'll have date nights, but we haven't had a Valentine's Day. Have we? Oh, we have? That must have been super. No, you used to cook on Valentine's Day. That's right.
Don't forget about Applebee's on the date night.
Yeah.
That Bourbon Street steak and that
Try to
Oreo
avoid
shake.
Applebee's.
What about that whipped cream on the top too?
Avoid Applebee's.
That's got what I'm putting down there.
Oh, I got what you're putting down.
I don't know, but yeah. Like I said, I generally don't. That is just, I don't know. I guess it's also me being rebellious against just people looking to make a buck on a holiday. Because it's capitalism. It's marketing. It's their entire goal is to make $1, make a big deal of something that really shouldn't be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyhow. I'm stop talking about my thoughts on marketing and such.
It's fun. It was a fun side topic, but I do need to start wrapping it up. If you guys want to keep the podcast going, go for it. But I'm sure we should probably just all wrap it up, right? It's been a nice,
indeed,
long
it's been
episode.
It's been a long episode. It's been girthy. Even though we significantly reduced that girth, and it was still girthy.
Yes,
because still most of our conversation was about the freaking blob. Jesus.
Oh, we want to thank the people that were in the podcast live for a bit, listening to this long episode. Yeah. And of course, I mean, we had some comments from Mr. Monkey and other people in the chat too. But be sure to check out our podcast. We try to normally do it on Thursdays. We'll see actually next week what we do. We'll get to you on that. But it's been kind of cool. The event calendar system in the Discord now, we won't be using that for scheduling raids because it's not as functional and it doesn't team up with other Discords, but it's been fun to put other things in here like podcasts and other events. So definitely check out the calendar thing for that.
Definitely. Just keep an eye out for the events. Because, it's fun things that we may have in the plan. Mm-hmm. Maybe, like I said, not maybe a generic raid, but things could pop up potentially.
I'm not saying we'll never have anything in the game not pop on the events, but keep an eye. And if you have any ideas, let us know also. Which goes back to the point: if you're not in the Discord, shame on you. No, if you're not in the Discord, we please ask you to join because you can join and see our usernames in the Discord right now. Sin, what's your current username?
User reinstated.
What was your username right before that?
Oh shoot, I can't remember. King Media.
No, right before it was user deleted for a little bit.
Oh, user deleted right before, yes.
Yeah, HR put in a request that we had to delete you for a second.
Yeah. Then an injunction was filed and had to be reinstated.
I didn't even notice it right away, honestly. I didn't notice it until you posted something in one of the chats. I was like, what the? Wait, what? What's happening?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I totally did. I was messing around during work when we were doing those fake bot comments. And then I got busy and then I didn't check until later on.
Yeah. Well, anyways, join the Discord. You can talk more about Destiny. You can talk about lore, or you can just talk to us and have fun seeing what different people's usernames are. And we will let you know where you can find out all that information to join the Discord. But first, let's go through our info. Des, you want to tell people where they can find you?
Okay. I am unmuted. Nice. Anyway. You can, of course, find me in the Discord. Usually running amok in the lore channel as much as I can. You can find me on Twitter at DES_Raven, home of the Festus Index, independent comment. Of course, actually, that's also in the Discord, too. I keep forgetting that we have the D2 Index channel where you can find our things. So yeah, join the Discord.
Truth.
There was a thing I was going to say, and now it's gone.
Fantastic. Well, in lieu of that, I guess you could pass it to.
Yeah, Sin.
You can find me over on Twitter at sin_media or also on the Discord. Now, as tradition, Kingsley Macklemore, take us out.
Funny, you're still calling me Macklemore, which I do have those robes ornaments on right now. Anyways, you can find me as Kingsley Mac all the places, except on Discord right now. My name is Signing Lay. You can find me as MC Kingsley on Twitter, though. That's the one exception. Now, if you want to know where you can find our show, you can find it on Twitter as The Guardian Hub. And you can also find out information about our show, our Discord, and all our stuff at our lovely website, theguardianhub.com.
The best hub on the net.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Des. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week. And we really appreciate you. And we will see you again next week. Have a good one.
Stay magical.
Later.